Okay, I commonly get questions about how your background, whether it's in, financial or if you've got a record of some sort, how that's going to impact your ability to get a license. So what I'm going to spend time in this video is just basically answering some of the basic questions of that so you can get a good idea of what your likelihood is of getting a license. I'll also talk a little bit about the capability of then getting appointed with carriers, because those are two obstacles with background issues that you're going to have to answer in order to determine if going into the insurance business as a licensed agent is worth it. Now, my name is David DuFord. I own DuFord Insurance Group. I train agents nationally to sell final expense Medicare and annuities, face-to-face and over the phone. If you'd like to, there's links above or below. You can check out how my agency works. But in the meantime, let's jump right into this. So there's two things that you've got to overcome if you've got background issues. And we'll talk about some of the specific background issues, both from a criminal record potentially or a financial record that may impose a problem on getting licensed. The first thing you got to do is get licensed and being able to be eligible to be licensed. And then the next thing you got to do is get appointed. It's typically easier, as we'll talk about here, to get a license in most cases, even if you've got background issues. But it's a little bit harder to get appointed with carriers with some of the same issues that you applied with that you have. The carriers are going to be a little bit more selective. The one thing I'll say is this, is if you're getting licensed and now you're having trouble with appointments or worrying about this, my advice to you is to try to appoint with a multitude of companies, okay? Especially if you're going into the independent world. Try to not just contract with one or two, try to contract with 5 to 10, knowing that some of the carriers will reject you, but some will take you. And it's likely that you'll be able, if you've gotten licensed, there's probably nothing in your record that's gonna be that big of a deal that will prevent you from completely being turned down. You'll be able to work with a couple of companies. Last but not least, if you even have trouble with that, a lot of the captive companies out there in the final expense space, some of the other ones I've done reviews on, and you're welcome to email me and I'll give you more specificity. They will take you with background issues. So there is some hope out there if all else fails. And if I can help, just shoot me an email, davidduford.com/contact. Okay, so first of all, if you've got some kind of misdemeanor on your record, the common ones I see are like minor drug charges or maybe DUIs, that kind of thing. Those generally are okay to get licenses with. Of course, the one thing you want to do is make sure that that it's not a pending charge, that it's passed, and that there's been some kind of judgment put in place. And make sure when you're applying, as with all of these background issues, that you're completely transparent about what happened and why it was bad, that you admit it was bad and you wish you could take it back and you'll never do it again, that kind of stuff. You want to make sure to not try to hide it, because the act of hiding any of this stuff, these underwriters are going to pull your record and they're going to see. And if they find that you're lying about it or misrepresenting, then they're not going to appoint you, because if you're going to do that with them, what's going to stop you from doing that from your insurance clients, right? Also, if you've got like felonies and that kind of thing, the very serious felonies that probably required long jail time. At the present time, I highly doubt that you're going to be able to get licensed, much less appointed with the carriers. I have gotten some people appointed in the past and have heard some who've spent time in jail that have made good on society post jail time and are acceptable with some of these companies I mentioned earlier. So it's not like a complete no, but it's likely you're going to be up against some serious issues felony-wise. Now, the worst felonies, I think, that you're going to have the hardest time with obviously real bad things like murder, rape, etc. Mismanagement of any kind of financial felonies are going to be a real problem. Like if you've had committed some grand larceny, theft, you've stolen money, anything that relates to any kind of mismanagement of people's money or fraud or theft, that's going to be a big issue in getting licensed. And we'll talk about here at the end, how you can challenge this stuff if you think that you should be appointed anyway. Bad credit. Sometimes people have financial issues where they have bad credit. It's not so much your credit score, it's what caused your credit to be bad. So you likely will get an insurance license with bad credit. It's getting appointed that's the problem. So for example, what caused your bad credit? Is it hospital bills, that kind of thing? That's usually okay. Do you have charged back credit cards that are in receivership or in arrears and you haven't made any payments or tried to level that stuff out? Do you have foreclosures, that kind of thing? Those issues are going to cause more problems in getting appointed with a lot of carriers. Not across the board, but with some of them. Likewise, tax liens. is another thing that sometimes is problematic. If you owe the IRS or a state money and you're not making a process to try to come to amends with that, and you don't have a record of repayment, that's also a problem as well. Child support and arrearage, you're likely not going to get appointed with a carrier as well until that's straightened out. Last but not least, here's the thing. I think we mentioned, the appointment process. Again, if you're having trouble going independent into the independent side, there are a lot of captive carriers that will really work well with you on this. And this is any of the final expense or life insurance companies that only recruit to that one agency or that one company. Usually it's not the independents that will have the flexibility. And if you ever want to appeal any of this stuff, remember, insurance law is state, not federal. So your state sets the rules for appointing agents. And you can always go to the Department of Insurance for your state, talk to somebody in licensing, and talk about your background issue to try to get guidance. And if they decline you, you can always appeal it and try to, get it brought to a board or a committee and try to see if they'll appoint you anyway and try to fight that distinction. So anyways, hope that gives you some guidance. It is a very frustrating experience. If you've gone through the motions of this, you're not getting anywhere, and you want some advice, like I said, daviddufour.com/contact. I'll be happy to help you however I can. And hope this gave you some direction and some advice. Thanks so much for watching, y'all. Take care.